You've found your way to the Winning Tactics podcast with host Adam Sinkus. Adam discusses winning tactics with small business owners and entrepreneurs, uncovering processes and introducing the tools and solutions for enhancing the bottom line. Thanks again for finding your way to the Winning Tactics podcast, and now your host, Adam Sinkus.
Happy Wednesday evening, and for those of you that will be catching the replays tomorrow, Thursday morning, welcome back to another wonderful episode of the Winning Tactics podcast. We did take a week off last week, shuffling some things around, but we are back to the new norm, and I am excited to have friend and local business owner Adam Sadur and his wife Shannon, who are the proud owners of several businesses in the area, but they have a barbecue shop, Atomic Barbecue, that is absolutely dynamite. They've got a wedding and event rentals company, and then also the only go-to bowling shop in the Cape Coral, Fort Myers area, hands down. So welcome to the show, guys. So glad to have you on. Definitely tell us a little bit about your journey, who you are, and your businesses. Fill in the details.
Well, first off, thanks for having us on. Hard to really know where to start. I mean, the bowling thing kind of, we need more than one podcast for that, because it's been a whirlwind for the last 20 some odd years. But as far as Atomic Barbecue goes, I've been a backyard barbecue enthusiast for well over a decade. And it ended up being where, when we would have family dinners, it used to be, hey, Shannon, what are you making? Are you making enchiladas? Are you making tacos? And then it became, what's Adam going to cook? So it just, it worked out. We parlayed that into doing larger events, Halloween parties, family gatherings. I cooked for, my parents' wedding, things like that. And actually, we had a relatively larger scale wedding event in March that we tandem on, where I did the cooking and Shannon did all of the decorations for the wedding event, from soup to nuts. And it went over really well, but it was right, like literally a week before the pandemic just took the world sideways. And what I thought was going to be maybe just a little bit of a here and there, hey, you want to cook for me kind of thing, became oh my God, I need to cook some food and sell it to make money kind of thing. And Shannon and I were literally just in the middle of a conversation one day, and out of the blue, she looked at me and said, hey, why don't you try to start selling the barbecue? The pro shop's closed, the bowling centers are closed down. And so I did, and the response was better than I had expected, and it just continued to the point that where we are today, where we had to make a decision. Is this going to be something that becomes a full-on primary, journey of mine? And it sure is now. So, that's the closest I can ever get to a short story.
Yes. I think it's absolutely amazing. Your barbecue. I will tell you, for those of you that everybody that's listening needs to make a trip down to Southwest Florida if you're not already here, because it is absolutely amazing barbecue. It is totally worth the trip. And, I met Adam through the bowling shop, and he introduced me to his pretzels, which are to die for. One time, all it took was one pretzel, and I was instantly a fan. But what I find interesting, right, is that, we have to really think about how we're approaching business. And obviously, starting a barbecue venture is not a cheap endeavor, between refrigerators and smokers and all the accoutrements and trucks to haul all that stuff, and to get that going. So What were some of kind of the initial concerns? What were some of those things that you were like looking at going, oh my gosh, are we really going to do this?
Well,
we're still looking at it.
Yeah, we're still looking at those things.
We're still trying to figure out, oh my God, how are we going to do it?
When it comes to having the things that you need to be successful, you can spend a lot of money on things. And I am afraid to do stuff like that. But I also understand that sometimes you need to make investments on products to then turn around and use to help you earn money from that investment. The smoker was the first big expense, and we had that custom built by Lang Barbecue Smokers in Nahunta, Georgia, and they were phenomenal. Total plug for them. Very, very happy with that whole outfit they have up there. But we're learning as we go when it comes to everything else that we need. Obviously, you need more than that. From refrigeration to prep to storage to everything you need for serving, containers, being compliant.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of fuel that is required for me for a barbecue when I'm cooking 300 pounds versus 80 pounds is significantly different. So finding a different resource for where I purchase items such as charcoal or wood, I'm finding these things to be very important, and I'm finding good resources, but I haven't found all of them yet, and I'm still going to continue to look to see what's going to be best. Because I find something that seems to be the right price or conveniently located, if it affects the end result with the flavor, then that's a game changer for me, and I can't mess with the flavor.
Yeah.
We've had to is doing the smoked barbecue it's a very time consuming process, much more than any type of restaurant that you would walk into and order something from: pizza, hamburgers, steaks. Doing some of his meats take up to 16 hours to cook, and it's only him and my son doing it. So they take turns not sleeping.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting perspective, and we will flip back to that in just a second. I want to jump into a little bit about the resources thing, because I think that's something that new business owners often overlook is, if I scale this thing, what can my current supply chain actually handle what I need to do with it? And in your case, it's wood, it's meat, that's it's a big game changer, going from, being able to pull things from like Sam's Club and places like that to probably now you have to find an actual distribution channel for large volumes of meat, I'm assuming, correct?
Yes. Definitely, I'm not going to the local grocery store, and but I have found a couple different local, let's call them big box stores, that I've been able to use as my primary locations for picking up food, the meats. GFS, Restaurant Depot, those are places. Locally, I'm still looking at other options where if I can obtain from a local organization, I want to exercise that if at all possible. So that's still an option. But I'm also finding, at store A, I might have great pricing on certain items, but not all of them. Whether it be the meats are great, but the containers, the pricing is not so great. And then store B, it's the opposite. Or store C has that one ingredient that I need, that secret ingredient. Let's just say it's in the pretzels. It is. And there's only one place that I can purchase that in large quantities that's cost effective. So, well, that's where I get it at. And then I'm learning this, and I'm sure I'll continue to learn as this goes, because I don't know everything, but I don't mind channeling resources if I need to.
Of course, yeah. And that's the sign of strong business ownership in my mind, is being able to go and seek those resources and really realize when the resources you have aren't sufficient anymore. And so, I think it's interesting, Shannon, you pointed out a few minutes ago about the sleep thing, right? And the how it's just Adam and Cody really, running the smoker, and so that's 16 hours. It's a sleepless night to get all that done. That's I think the sacrifices that as customers we oftentimes overlook when we start to consider the product and cost associated with the product and how much is my time worth, and so I think it's a really important piece to really talk about. So when you were kind of getting into the role or getting into the thought process that we're going to go down this path, and knowing that you were going to have some sleepless nights, what was going through your head on that?
Saying, "Let me sleep, lady."
It was that, and I would glance over at the wall where I keep my bottle of whiskey to see how much I had, or didn't have for that.
Like, we really don't need to do this. I'm like, yes, we do. So,
yeah. I think that's interesting. It's something that we often overlook. I know, my endeavors, it's something that I've overlooked several times when you're like, oh, I should be able to hammer this out in 3 or 4 hours, and 6-7 hours later, and 6 other things that you've now pushed back to get it done are all sitting on the back burner going to figure that out. And obviously you both juggle other businesses in all of this as well. So how does that play into running your other businesses?
we're crazy people. We're crazy. We don't have a normal life.
One of the big things for me that I get.
Oh, you're cutting out a little bit.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
One of the things that I get somewhat obsessive compulsive about is having some sort of plan or schedule. Not to say that I'm the best planner or the best scheduler by far, but when I'm looking at, let's just say a cook that we're going to have, I'm thinking about, okay, so I'm going to have everything prepped by this time, have it seasoned by this time, get it on a smoker at this time. It's going to take this long to cook. What can I do during that time? And then when it's done, how long can it rest before I can then portion it if that's what I'm doing? And how much time do I have left before I'm not happy with the resting period? Because I want the food to be as fresh and as good and as tasty as possible. I don't want it sitting around or sitting out or refrigerated. So trying to make sure that I have all of that in my head, planned in advance, while also running another business is somewhat of a challenge. Fortunately, Cody, our son, who is doing this with us, is phenomenal, and he has way more energy than Shannon or I combined, because he's under 30 years old and he has that. So and kind of like as if you look at the word atomic in our logo, it starts with the letter A and it ends with the letter C, and that was important to me when we did the logo. As you know, the process starts with Adam and it ends with Cody. I'm trying to have everything planned, where I'm the one that's doing I came up with the flavors. I'm coming up with the seasoning mix. I'm coming up with the process, the recipes, and then Cody is implementing all of that with my guidance. And the more we do it together, the less guidance he needs. So I'm going to be starting it, and if we plan it right, he's going to be finishing it, and then we will figure out which among the group of us in the crazy family serves it all, whether it be if we're at an event or and we're selling it by the sandwich or by the pound, or if we're doing it in trays, if it's catered, things like that.
Big events, we do it all as a family together.
I think every kid that's ever been a part of an entrepreneurial family has put their pence into the family business. I didn't have that growing up, but my best friend's family owned a restaurant, and I spent plenty of time because he dragged me along on things that he was stuck doing, helping the family business. So
yeah, we did this a little backwards. The kids are older. They both have families of their own, and career. Cody has a career he's had since high school, and he's kind of he's having a baby, so he wants to stay home. He doesn't want to travel so much anymore. And so now we're starting this business as a family and starting it from the ground up all together. So.
No, I absolutely love it. I think family support in any business is number one. The reality is there's no easy path in entrepreneurship. And so without your family being 100% behind you, it's a long, lonely, tiresome road.
Yeah.
Unless there's an angel investment out there somewhere, just saying.
We'll see what we can do for it.
There's all kinds of Goodwills out there, garage sales. We're making do.
So let's talk a little bit about Her Day Rentals, because I know that's another piece of Atomic Barbecue and the family businesses. How did you get started in that, Shannon?
I love beautiful things and I like to shop. My mom and daughter and I collected things for years, and I for years I've been doing friends' weddings, families' weddings, and different parties and stuff. And I decided right before pandemic that I was going to lease my own place, and I finally had enough inventory that I needed to. And so I leased my own place, and pandemic hit right after the first wedding that we did. And so Her Day's kind of been a little stagnant, hasn't done too much, but she will take off eventually. I think I have such beautiful inventory of vintage and stuff that you can't see anywhere else, stuff that has been handpicked over the last 5 to 8 years, and that brides would be able to use for their wedding, engagement parties, anything like that. They don't have to pay to purchase and then wonder what they're going to do with it after the wedding. I did both of my kids' weddings. My daughter's wedding was pretty big, and when I bought all of this stuff, I had nowhere to put it all. And I spent so much money, and I thought, wow, it would have been great if I could have rented this stuff. And I don't want something that's run of the mill that you can just rent from any rental place. So that was kind of my idea when I started Her Day, is to have really unique, beautiful stuff that somebody who per se wouldn't be able to go afford to buy all of those items, but they can rent them and have a beautiful wedding. But Her Day's, it's kind of taken a backseat to the barbecue right now, and that's okay. When things go back to normal and people are having bigger events, then hopefully we'll start to take off.
People are going to get married, and hopefully they're going to want to eat.
It's a perfect marriage of businesses, really, honestly.
Yeah. Eventually.
What I think is really, really cool about the Her Day idea in looking back at my own wedding is, thinking about all the stuff that we did buy and all the stuff that we spent on that, after the fact, it was like we're giving it away to friends and family, because like, where the heck do you put all this stuff? At the time, we lived in Michigan and we had a basement, so we at least, could store things in the basement. But, now here, Florida, we bury things in the sand, not in our basement.
Right. Another thing, that we did at Her Day is I went out and I found beautiful wedding dresses. Some of them had never been worn by girls who changed their mind. And we purchased a bunch of wedding dresses in different sizes, and we do rent those. I know that in today's, especially right now with pandemic and what's going on, people's pocketbooks are really tight. They can come in, they can rent a beautiful dress that is a name brand dress for under a couple $100 and turn around and give it to somebody else who's going to need it when they're done. Yeah. So you wear it once. Some people think that, gosh, that's such a waste to spend so much money on something you're going to wear once. But if you're going to pass it along to other brides, I think that's great. So we'll try it and see what happens.
You know, at least the rule that's always been told to me is women only wear dresses one time anyway. So, you know, it just makes sense to me.
I don't know about that, but we'll go with it.
Well, that is a very cool story. I have no doubt that as things start to open up, as gatherings start to happen more frequently, that there is probably a huge marketplace for that. It is very, very complementary to the barbecue as well, and being able to cater and provide the full, you know, event services for somebody. I know for me, like, if I want to plan something, like, I just want to go to one place and talk to one person and do everything all at once.
Most guys do. Is what I've learned.
Well, you know, we're frugal and practical.
There, we can work with that. All you guys that are frugal, come on over.
I'm trying not to incriminate myself here. So, let's talk a little bit about the bowling shop. Then we'll start to kind of wrap things up, because that is Adam, where you got your start, really your starting business. So how did that come about?
Well, my mom dropped me off at a bowling center when I was 9 and never came back. No. Yeah, I for all intents and purposes, I grew up from age 9 on, spending the majority of my time when I wasn't at school at the bowling center down in Miami, Don Carter, Kendall Lanes. And I became that little nitpicky kid that would hang out in the pro shop there. And I was drawn to it. And I eventually, as I got older, I started to help, or I'd ask if I could help, or I would just go back there and work on stuff once Kenny, who was the shop owner, would let me. And that's kind of where I got my first taste of it. And I knew I liked it. And somewhere around 91, I started really learning how to drill up at, well, now from here it's down, Don Carter Sawgrass Lanes, which used to be across the street from Sawgrass Mills Mall. A gentleman by the name of Tommy Evans and a late friend of mine, Charles Dunn, Gator, taught me, basically. That's where I cut my teeth. And I worked as an employee in a few pro shops from time to time in the early 90s through the mid 90s. And up to and including when I moved to Fort Myers in 95, got out of it for a while, life changed, got out of the industry altogether, stopped bowling. I'm trying to wrap it up. I'm sorry. 2006, Shannon and I met, we connected, and I had just started bowling again, just started practicing, and she saw the passion I had for it. And I went to an arena football game with a colleague of mine who was looking for opening a second shop and was looking for someone to help him. And I said, well, I could do that. And that's kind of where I stepped back into it. And a few years later, it got to the point where we made the decision to break free from our partnership. And I took over the ownership of that shop. So that was in 2010 when A's Pro Shop began. And I had trials and tribulations, moved to a different location. We had a fire, moved to a different location, and then moved to where I am now, which is at Bowland Cape Coral. I've been there since 2016. And honestly, it's been really good since. I was able to reconnect with customers that I lost from the center that burnt down, and customers from the previous center I used to be at. And I'm always learning in there, and you're always learning new things. And I'm never going to say I'm the best at what I do, but I damn well will try. And one thing I've always said when I speak to other people in the industry, when it comes to pro shop operators, we're all trying to achieve the same thing, which is to make our customer happy, to make a bowling ball fit in their hand correctly. And we all pretty much, for the most part, know how to do that, but we might look at each customer a little bit differently as far as what we're looking at with their hand, with their grip strength, with their flexibility, things like that. I look at everybody and I make sure I treat everyone the same, and I make sure I check everything and double check everything, and because that's who I am. And that's kind of how I am with the barbecue. Going back to it, I'm always making sure that I'm doing it the right way. It's important. I'd rather check twice and do it once than check once and do it twice.
I am with you on that. I'm a firm believer of quality over quantity. I'd rather charge a little bit more and know that absolutely I'm going to put out a top quality product every single time than try and, cheapen my product and hammer through a process and lose some of that quality. I'll pay for it every time. And that's the way I run my businesses as well. And so I 100% believe in that philosophy of let's make it right the first time. So, well, very cool. For final thoughts tonight, we're gonna shift it up just a hair from where I normally go for this. I want to hear what's one thing that business owners should know when they're considering opening their second or third business.
Well, for me, it might be a different answer than for Shannon, but it's dot all of your I's and cross all of your T's. Check everything, double check everything. Make sure that the steps that you're taking are solid steps and you're standing on solid ground.
Cool. Shannon, what do you think?
You need to have a good support system in your home. If you have a spouse and you both need to be on board with it, you need to be pushing each other, you need to be supporting each other. And I think that, a good mix is one who, if one doesn't have a quality, the other one does. And we definitely have that. We
are fortunate that we balance each other out when it comes to certain qualities.
Yeah, he's very cautious, and I'm grabbing him by the neck and saying, let's go. We could do it. We should have done this yesterday.
If Shannon was like me with the let's pump the brakes a little bit attitude, if you have two people that want to pump the brakes, you're not going to go anywhere. And I understand that. And I embrace that.
But I'm like the road runner.
Yeah. Every now and then I'm like grabbing a cliff and making sure she doesn't roll through that stop sign, or that red light.
So, yeah. So I think you have to have each other's back, or you're gonna tear each other apart. If we're still married at the end of this whole thing, we're gonna be very fortunate. We will be. I'm getting that look.
I think based on this interview, I think y'all are gonna be just fine.
Yeah, I think we will. We have a whole wall full of it.
Well, awesome. Great tips. Great talking to both of you. Before we sign off, I want to thank my affiliate partner, Spearpoint Solutions. For those of you that are running businesses that want to come up with creative and unique solutions, Spearpoint Solutions is your source for that. They just launched their Spearpoint Solutions subscription strategy. You can use my discount code scrolling down there at the bottom of the screen. I will also throw it in the show notes as well for a substantial savings on their $3,500 a year subscription for that. But you're getting 3 strategies a month. They are not custom tailored strategies, but they are 3 very usable strategiys a month for 12 whole months. Absolutely, absolutely worth every penny of it. Check them out, Spearpoint Solutions. Bob Sager on LinkedIn. Find him. He can answer all your questions as well. I also want to thank Adam and Shannon so much for coming on. We really appreciate you guys for all the great food, bowling equipment, and everything that you guys do for the community. Where can people find you?
Well, as far as the pro shop, that would be at 42 Mid Cape Terrace, which is Bowland, Cape Coral. That's where my primary location is. That's where all of the drilling services would take place. I also have a smaller satellite shop at Headpins, Cape Coral, which is at 1899 Del Prado. The her day, Event Rentals and Atomic Barbecue would be currently set up at 1021 Southeast 10th Street, which is directly across the street from the Wellington Academy. And then you can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Atomic Barbecue SWFL. And
the website to be going live probably next week.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, we'll make sure we drop those links in the show notes as well so everybody can find them online. It's been a pleasure having both of you. I appreciate your time, audience. I appreciate your time as well. Don't forget, if you're catching the replay, we are on all of the major podcast platforms as well.
Well, that wraps up yet another episode of the Winning Tactics Podcast. You can find Adam on both the LinkedIn and Facebook platforms. And to support the show and ensure the success of the podcast, would you kindly consider visiting Patreon.com/Adam Sinkus? We greatly appreciate it. And until next time, from the Winning Tactics Podcast, remember, culture is how your team behaves when no one is looking. Take good care, and thanks for listening.